All right, we're going to talk about something a little bit different today. So, for those that don't know me, my name is Lee. I am the host for Heavy Art Talk, which is primarily a video podcast between artists who often serve the metal and underground scene. I went back and forth on whether I wanted to make this type of video or not a couple times, but ultimately, I just felt like I need to get this out there. So, yes, I'm going to be weighing in on AI art and metal. Now, I'm not going to focus primarily on some of the, big headline kind of stuff that's come up the last couple of weeks with like the Deicide album cover or the Pestilence album cover that just was recently announced. It's more of a warning or a educational type of video where you basically can detect AI art in metal, especially a lot of these accounts that are trying to sell it for merch designs. That's what I want to focus on today because I feel like this is something that's not being talked about enough, and I think is actually going to have a lot of really big consequences because the underground is ultimately what supplies a majority of metal, and I think it's something that people aren't discussing. So, a couple of ground rules with this video. Like I said, I really want this to be more of an educational type video on like how to detect AI art in metal like merch designs. I don't really want to make people feel defensive. I don't want to make people feel defensive for following these pages, whether they realize it or not. I don't want to make people feel defensive for accidentally or even maybe even intentionally buying a shirt or a demo that has AI art. I don't want to make bands necessarily feel defensive that they have purchased one of these designs and used it. And there's a couple reasons for that. The first is we're still pretty early on in the Pandora's box of AI art, and I want to give people the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they're not educated on why it's a problematic type of thing in the scene. And maybe they're not even sure that what they bought was AI art to begin with. So I just don't think basically attacking people is the right way of going about this. So with that being said, I think it is important for people to be aware that I am anti-AI art. I'm not a fan of it. I don't think it has any kind of space within metal, which has always been about human expression to me and the subtle nuances between both the musical art styles as well as the visual art styles that makes it engaging. So yes, I'm very against AI art. It's just that if I felt like I was attacking people, I feel like they would just be digging their heels in even more and have a need to be defensive instead of coming with an open mind. So I want everybody to understand kind of my intentions with this video. The other thing too is like there is maybe a slim chance that one of the images or the feeds I'm going to be showing on this video is not AI art. And if so, sorry, but it's likely that these are AI art accounts. Very, very likely. But if I am wrong, I don't want to put somebody on blast. And ultimately, like, I'm just not a call-out type person. I really am not. I have my principles. I have my ethics. But I try to be a little bit more of a force of positivity within the scene and what I'm trying to do with the channel. So that's what I want to try to capture with this video. I hope I'm not being too idealistic in that. But please, if you have thoughts on this, whether you're in support of what I'm saying, whether you're against it, you can put them in the comments. Just please, everybody, like, be respectful. So the main topics of this video are going to be why I think some of these AI art accounts are wrong, how to detect this stuff and what to look out for, what's the consequence over time, potentially, it's just my predictions, and then what you can do about it, okay? So when it comes to AI art, there's different degrees of what is wrong here. The fundamental reason why AI art is ethically wrong is that it's sourcing a bunch of images from folks who have not consented to their art being used. So it is essentially theft. That's the fundamental reason. And this stuff is way closer to home than you think. It's not just, a bunch of huge artists in the scene, like ones who have, it's not just Frank Frazetta, for instance. Like Midjourney has been using Mark Riddick and Matt Sticker's art, who have been serving the underground for a long time now, and their names were included in this leak amongst many others. Like, that's messed up. But that's just the baseline reason of why AI art is wrong. What I really am focusing on this video, in which I have a very passionate distaste for, is scammy behavior. So what makes some of this AI art a scam? To me, it's really a matter of lack of honesty in disclosing that you're using AI art to begin with. Okay? So here's my thing. I don't like AI art, but if you're going to use AI art, please own up to it. That's where I really, really have a problem with it, because it doesn't create an even playing field. It's dishonest to the people who are buying it. It's dishonest to the people who are even looking at it on a basic consumption level. So that, to me, is the biggest reason why I am very against some of these art accounts that are popping up like damn Hydra heads that are basically purely transactional and just trying to make money off of metal bands. That is what I am against. So let's shift to what to look out for when you're looking for these accounts. And I'm likely going to be putting some photos up just with like some examples, so while I'm talking through them, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Once again, cropping out the names of the accounts, because frankly I have better things to do with my life than get in some kind of like war with these people. What to look out for. Got a list here. I want you to note, these are all different Instagram accounts. I'm not just taking like different screenshots of the same account. So if they all look similar, well, it's probably because of AI. All right. So daily posts of completely new work almost every day, perhaps even more frequently. In terms of the bio section, I'm talking through Instagram here. There's things that say like, always open for commissions, DM me if interested, accept PayPal. There's no like person's name in the profile, so like you don't have like an artist to actually look up. And then in the posts themselves, they'll say things like logo and placement can be changed, DM me if you have any interests. Basically things that are just purely transactional, not about what the image actually is, how it was created, what its purpose is, the things that you normally would see with somebody actually creating art. And let's be frank, creating art digitally, photographically, hand-drawn, like it really doesn't matter. Anything that's created by a human that is art has value in my eyes. Other things, when you actually click into like a post, there's either disabled comments or there's only like positive comments. There's no like AI art, because those are just being deleted. I also have seen things like people posting like, wow, how did you make this ? And there's no answer. That would be an indicator to me. The account started in 2022 or 2023. So it's a relatively new account. If you just scroll all the way to the bottom, you see the first post. It just like somehow comes out in August 2022. Probably AI. Unexplainable style changes over time. So like they basically bounce between trends. So the first version of Midjourney had certain looks, but then all of a sudden a couple months later, everything now has gritty textures and it's a completely different style. That would be another indicator. Talking about textures a little bit, something that a lot of these accounts are doing now is what AI oftentimes spits out is a very like polished, rendered, almost like shimmery image. What they're doing is they're putting like photocopy looking gritty textures on top of it to kind of like muck up some of those details and make it look grittier. this is pretty convincing upon first look to like look more like the aesthetic that a lot of people go for. You just really have to look at the big picture, and so you see one post, and oftentimes they're sponsoring these posts, they're buying followers, like they're doing the whole gamut of things that are going to make these accounts seem bigger than they are. But it's really looking at the whole breadth of their quote unquote work and seeing like all the similarities or like just like these subtle little differences, and then all of a sudden a giant style shift or things like that. Something that a lot of people have been talking about is that there's too many fingers, or something that I've noticed more frequently as AI is getting better is sometimes there's the right amount of fingers, but the thumb looks like all the other fingers. And if you look at a hand, a thumb isn't exactly like other fingers, so something to look out for. Things not lining up is another thing. So I've seen some designs where, like, let's say there's like a snake kind of like going behind like a skull or something. If you really look and you track the whole image, like the snake's body is not lining up with the other part of its body towards its head. So just like things just being like a little bit off on further look. Something that has been basically plaguing AI since the beginning is unnecessary details, or not focusing the eye towards like a central image. So in most cases, really good art is, it could be highly detailed in pockets, but it guides the eye to the right places to focus on. But AI kind of treats everything with the same level of importance. So there's like all these like details that kind of look like mush, and they don't really make any sense. But like, that's the thing, is it's all based off of AI being like, okay, I'll give you 100 images and you just spend like 5 seconds at them and they have like an immediate like, oh, that looks cool. But then you look deeper and you're like, this is weird. That's what it's basically banking off of. Other things, no brush strokes or pen lines upon closer look. Let's see. Lack of any cool meaning or substance in the art. Basically, it's just an image that, has some, skulls and a little bit of drippy stuff, and basically like there's like nothing else to it. There's no story to be, made there, or even like sometimes it doesn't have to be a literal story within art. It's just like there's a lack of any kind of real imagination in it. And I think those are the main things. So the big takeaway is a lot of people have seen like the really polished AI art stuff. The gritty kind of textured AI, that's the sneaky stuff to be really looking out for right now, I think. So we talked about why it's wrong. We've also discussed then what to look out for. Let's talk a little bit about the potential consequence with this stuff. Almart and all the publicity it's getting with like this AI stuff, it's excellent. And what I mean by excellent is like the negative, publicity towards it. Like, I think that's a good thing. And I look at the comment sections on like some of these news outlets, and most people are like, yeah, get the stuff out of here. So like, that is encouraging. But when you can cut corners with AI, what is the low-hanging fruit? And I think in a lot of cases, it's flyers, it's promo materials, it's merch designs. It's not the big artistic statement of an album cover. So what we really got to look out for is it sneaking and infiltrating its way into the stuff that is more of a commodity than the album cover. And I don't mean that as a condescending thing. I love t-shirt art. I'm just saying that in a lot of ways, it's more at risk of being exploited by AI art than I think album art will, especially after all this publicity. So why is it important? Well, t-shirts, flyers, things like that, that's kind of the foot in the door for a lot of artists and illustrators to get into the scene and work their way up to album art. You kind of get your name out there, you start networking. If you take all that away, those stepping stones that have been put in place for a lot of the artists who are successful now are simply taken away. It also is discouraging for folks even picking up a pencil or a stylus to begin with. So I think that 5 years from now, if we aren't more vigilant about this, we're going to be seeing a lot of very similar merch designs, and it's not going to be benefiting the scene as a whole. I just think that there's a slippery slope here, in that if we don't kind of put our foot down a little bit more it's going to eat us from the inside out in terms of the metal and the metal art scene. And then I guess the final topic here is what you can do about it. Well, if you are agreeing with what I'm saying, or you're maybe thinking about things in a little bit of a different lens, I guess first is like, thank you. Thanks for being open-minded. Thanks for listening. But look out for these things. You know, if you're at a show, I was at a show recently and I'm sure the merch was AI generated or had a big hand in it. And like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to buy that shirt. So there is a little bit of a level of like boycotting, right? If you are against AI art, don't buy the physical products that are used with it. That's something you can do. I think if you're following any of these accounts and this has changed your mind, consider not following them. Consider not supporting them. Because like, that's the too long didn't watch version of this video really is AI art is already out there. I don't know how much I can really do to stop it, but I really, really wish that people who are at least using AI were more honest about it, because that is what is truly, really, really messed up about it. Is it's not creating an even playing field. So you got to own up to using AI if you're going to use it. And like, I'm also not trying to make the person who's just like, as a hobby, just like creating random AI images and they're not selling them. Like, I don't want to make you feel guilty. It's not my intent. It's not something I would do, but more power to you, man. It's just when it becomes something that somebody can make a lot of money off of, or even just a little bit of money, but they're essentially ripping off the fans and the bands, I got beef with that. So once again, like, this isn't a normal video for me. It's a bit of a rant. Maybe it'll go over well. Maybe it won't. I'm kind of putting myself out there on this type of thing, but at the end of the day, like, I want this channel to be a positive beacon for metal art, and I hope that both artists and fans of metal music can watch something in this channel and it lets them know the importance of the aesthetic, and that if things don't change, we're not going to get a Death Leprosy. We're not going to get another Dan Seagrave coming up through the ranks. We're not going to get Elron Cantor. You know, like, these are artists who, they're big in our scene, but they're not like millionaires, man. Like, there isn't a lot of money in this scene for a lot of folks. So I get the temptation to cut corners, but there's just consequences. So once again, thank you guys for listening. Really appreciate it. And new videos every Thursday in terms of the podcast. Thank you guys. Seriously. Bye.